Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah Blackwell, and today I'm going to be bringing you my 2023 goals. I'm not like a giant goal maker, but I do have this channel now, and I have realized that I do have certain goals that I would like to meet in 2023. So I figured I would share those with you guys. I love watching other booktubers share their goals, so I wanted to share mine with you guys. Before I get into this video, if you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you do so. Don't forget to click the like button and comment down below and let me know what your number one goal for 2023 is, whether that be like a reading goal or personal goal, whatever that is. All of my social media is linked down below if you want to continually watch me in 2023 and watch me fail my goals. With all of that out of the way, let's just go ahead and get into this video. I'm gonna go ahead and start with my reading goals, and then I'll get into my channel goals and then some personal goals as well. So the first thing would be my Goodreads books goal. So my goal this year was, I think, like 60 books, and I surpassed that. I think I'm at like 140 something right now. So I've over doubled my Goodreads goal. But for next year, I do know I'm going to be reading less thrillers. So I think that because of that, I know I'm probably going to be reading more fantasy. Fantasies tend to be thicker reads, so I don't want to assume I'm going to read another 140 something books next year. So I think my goal is going to be 100 books. I think that's doable. I think that comes out to 8 or so books. I'll pop it up here. 8 or so books a month, and I think that's totally doable. 100 books for 2023 is going to be my Goodreads goal. In terms of what genres I will be reading, in 2022 I read a lot of fantasy, which is my number one genre. Fantasy and romance are definitely my two genres I read the most of, but I spent a lot of time experimenting with a lot of thrillers and horrors. I think that I'm going to cut that back a bit because I did notice, I guess, a little bit of spoilers for my lists. While I'm making these lists, they're not complete yet because it's not the end of the year yet. I don't know if I'm going to have another favorite. I have a lot of great books still on my TBR to read. But what I am noticing is I only have like so far one favorite thriller and like one favorite horror like on my favorites list of the year. There's a thriller and a horror so far. And on my worst books of the year, half of them are thrillers. So I feel like that says something. For me personally, most of my favorites were fantasy, and I didn't have a single fantasy book on my worst of the year list. So I think I'm going to be concentrating more on fantasy, romance, and fantasy romance. And that includes, honestly, I feel like I could even call it speculative romance because there are like paranormal romances, sci-fi romances, monster romance, and then actual like fantasy romance. So like fairies and elves and all of that. So I'm going to concentrate on those. And I'm also going to concentrate on reading more sci-fi because I didn't have a single least favorite sci-fi. I think one of my favorite books of the year is a sci-fi, but I just know I want to concentrate. I want to experiment more on those. I experimented with a lot of like thrillers and horrors last year, but I want to try out a lot more sci-fi in 2023. So those are the three genres: fantasy, romance, and sci-fi. Those are the three genres I'm going to mostly concentrate on. I still will read thrillers once in a while, but it's definitely not going to be something that I really put like a whole lot of emphasis on in 2023. Another big reading goal for me is that I want to finish series. So in 2022, I think I've finished 7 or 8 big fantasy series. I don't know for romance. I don't clock those as much. I do want to do a list of all the fantasy romance books series that I am in the middle of because there's actually a lot. And apparently I'm really good with epic fantasy, but fantasy romance, like I'm really good at starting the series but not finishing them. So I'm going to do that, but that may actually be a video that comes out in either late January or early February in preparation for Faro Feb. So we may have to wait, instead of it being an end of the year content, it may be a Faro Feb content for my like Faro series that I'm in the middle of. But anyway, I digress. The point is that I want to complete series next year. And so I'm thinking 10 is a good number as a goal. 10 series. I think that's a good number. I did pretty well completing epic fantasy series. I finished the David Bad trilogy. I started and finished The Faithful and the Fallen. I finished the First Law trilogy. I also finished the Farseer trilogy. I finished getting up to date with the Stormlight archive. I kind of finished Mistborn in that I DNF'd it. I got to where like I just didn't like it. So I've done pretty well with series, but I want to do even better and then obviously get better with the fantasy romance series because that list is long. That's a long list. I also really want to read my shelves. I have a very large owned TBR and I need to get control over it. I don't mind it to a certain extent because there's something comforting to me just having an owned TBR I can pick and choose from. Having lots of options, I really enjoy that. That's something I personally enjoy. But I need to make sure that I am reading the books that I own, so I'm not just buying them and they sit there. You know what I'm saying? So I do want to make sure I am reading my owned TBR. I have considered doing something similar to what Beck on the Books does every year, which is like she goes through her entire owned TBR in a video, just not with synopsis, just 1, 2, just picking them up and showing you guys what books she owns that she hasn't read yet. I was thinking about doing that, but honestly, I own a lot of classics that I have for my kids for when they get older that I haven't read. I own a lot of historical romance just for the step backs, and I own a lot of middle grade that I'm not planning on reading really, but it's for when my kids get older too. So doing that's kind of difficult. I guess I could include everything but those things. So let me know in the comments if that's something that would interest you, because I know I do have a very large owned TBR. Finally, I want to read all of the books on my 23 books to read in 2023 list. I will have that list linked down below, but that was a very sincere list of all of the books that I really, really want to read in 2023. Well, not all of the books, like there are more books that I want to read in 2023, but those are the priority books that I really want to get to in 2023. And I really want to make sure I do prioritize those books. So next we have channel goals. This is a little bit weird for me to talk about, kind of, because I feel like I'm a relatively new booktuber. I've only been posting for 6 months now, and things have gone really well, but I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out what works for me, what kind of videos work for me, what kind of camera setup works for me, just all of those things, and what kind of editing works for me, just all of it. So I'm still trying to figure that out, and so goals are a little bit difficult, but I will say I think I've reached over 800 subscribers in the first 5 or 6 months since I've been on here, and that's really amazing. I really appreciate all of you guys who watch my videos, who comment in the comment section down below, or who just silently watch. I really appreciate you guys subscribing and taking the time out to actually like listen to me talk about books. It's kind of crazy to me that so many people are interested in my opinion, but it means the world to me. BookTube has completely changed my life. It's given me a creative outlet, and it's given me a lot of friends. And so I'm really happy with 800. I think that's amazing. And so if I were to have a goal for where I would want to be at the end of 2023 in terms of subscribers, I guess I would just double that. Let's say 2,500 subscribers. That would be really cool to be at 2,500 subscribers at the end of 2023. I think it's a doable goal, but I guess we'll see. Honestly, I try not to pay attention too much to the numbers, even though it can be easy to get carried away with them and just kind of like let them stress you out. But the truth is, I'm just amazed I have been able to make so many friends and create so many lasting relationships through BookTube and just have such a fun time sharing my reading experience. It's been really cool. So I feel like that's a loose goal. It's not really like that important that I reach that number, if that makes sense. Another goal would be, I guess, a possible second round of Once Upon a Readathon. I had a lot of fun with Once Upon a Readathon. I know a lot of the co-hosts did. I know a lot of the people participating had a really good time, and I've had so many people ask me about doing another Once Upon a Readathon. A lot of people have been asking for it and interested in doing that, and So yes, that is something that I would like to do. Will it be another month long readathon? I'm not sure. Will it be in November? Probably not. That is a big time hunting time for my husband. It just makes it a little bit more difficult when organizing family life and everything like that for us to both have big things going on outside the home. So I think that it would be not in November, but at some point next year, yes, I would like to do another Once Upon a Readathon. Specifics are just not here yet. And I guess I'd also just like to keep up with content. That's a big goal of mine, is just to make sure I continue to post 2 to 3 times a week. That's important to me, to make sure that I don't have any big gaps between content. So just staying steady with my upload schedule is definitely still a big goal in 2023. I think I've done a pretty good job with it in 2022. So really just trying to keep that up. I do have some personal goals as well. And I can share some of them with you. Some of them I feel like are more personal, but some of them I will share. For those of you who don't know, my husband and I have been working on the remodel of our house for about 5 years now. And there are some big goals that I have that I really want to finish in 2023 with the interior of our house. I'd really like to get all of the baseboards in. We also have a lot of remodeling to do in the kitchen, which we've started accumulating all of the pieces, like the sink and the faucet and like the new hood above our oven and all of that stuff. So there's a big kitchen remodel coming up that I'd like to get done, and just some basic remodel stuff, paint and all that fun stuff. So that is a big goal for me. I really would like to get this done. It's been going on for a while now and it's been pretty exhausting. I'd like to get as much work done as possible on the interior of our house. Next goal is I would like to get back to the garden a little bit. I didn't get as much gardening done this year. It was really hard with Noah being so little, but now he's up and walking. So I think it's gonna be a little bit easier, hopefully now, to get back into the garden. I really miss homegrown tomatoes. If you guys don't know, I am a gardener. We actually have a really large garden space. I have a very large seed collection. I am very passionate about gardening and cooking. So I'd really like to get back into the garden more than I did in 2022. I also have some personal health goals. I would like to start doing yoga again more regularly as I did before I had my kids, and I would like to, with the garden, will be able to come hopefully lots of good yummy foods that I can then ferment. Fermented foods have a lot of benefits for your gut health, and not to get into it too much, but I have had some issues. I've had ulcers. I've had just some different issues that I would really like to kind of prioritize my health. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, hearing about some of my goals for 2023. Do all of New Year's goals, come to fruition in the next year with me? Not always. Oftentimes not always. But I would like to work really hard on these goals, and I think that they're all pretty well doable. The gardening could get difficult, especially here in the South. It gets so hot, and in July, like mid-July, late July, early August, it is just hard to get your butt outside to pull weeds. It can be difficult. Other than that, I think this is fairly doable of a list, and I enjoyed sharing it with you guys. Like I said before, if you guys have any goals for 2023, please let me know down in the comments, like what is your number one goal, if you feel comfortable sharing it with me. And if you haven't already subscribed, I would love to have you do so. All of my social media is linked down below in the description. I hope you guys have a happy, healthy, and safe holiday. Until next time, keep reading and living your best life.